Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Amputate to Amplify Success podcast, where transformation takes center stage. I'm your host, John Register. I'm a two-time Olympic trials qualifier, combat Army veteran, amputee, Paralympic silver medalist, certified professional speaker, and 2024 top 50 global leadership speaker for business. Amputate to Amplify Success podcast takes a deep dive into the lives of senior suite leaders and inspirational influencers who have turned adversity into advantage and obstacles into their opportunities. In other words, what did these inspirational leaders have to amputate to amplify their success? Amputate to Amplify Success podcast uncovers the raw, the real stories behind the corporate facade. We're talking about challenges, pitfalls, and most importantly, the victorious turnarounds that define true leadership. Prepare to be inspired to act and transform your obstacles into opportunities. So let's amputate and amplify right here and right now. I have an amazing guest on this show, but first remember to follow us, follow the show, click the notification bell, download it, and send it to your friends because we're having fantastic conversations. All right. With 12 years of experience and expertise in financial planning and investment management, this young lady brings a wealth of knowledge and a dynamic approach to helping you achieve your financial goals. She excels in understanding the intricate dynamics of wealth, skillfully balancing the complex forces at play, and she adapts intelligently as conditions change, ensuring your financial strategies remain robust and effective. She specializes as a certified divorce financial analyst, CDFA. Brianna is uniquely equipped to guide you through the financial complexities of this, and she provides critical insight. And we're going to talk about some of that today as we begin to navigate this conversation. Connect with her to embark on a journey towards your financial success. Please welcome to the Amputate to Amplify Success podcast, the amazing Brianna Beski.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying yes and being on. And so before we get into all your greatness and wonderfulness, I want to just ask you this question. We ask this to everybody that comes on. And when we begin this podcast, is what is the greatest hindrance, or what did you have to amputate in order to amplify your success?
You know, I think it depends on the time of life you'd ask me. So when I was younger, it was my athletic career. I was an Olympic hopeful when I was in high school. I went to college on a scholarship, and I had spondylolisthesis, which effectively ended my athletic career. But to amplify, I had a lot of good that came out of that. During the athletic career, I met really cool people. I got a scholarship. I saw the world. And it inspired me to transition to my professional career, which has been amazing. I think if you ask me right now, what I had to amputate is more of a sense of security for my parents. You see, when I was in my 20s, my parents got divorced. It sucked. The emotions are real. And what made a bad situation worse is I saw both my mom and dad making questionable financial decisions during an arguably very emotional time. And I don't know about your personal history, John, but I would argue on a good day, the financial services world is complex and confusing. You add a stressful, life-changing situation to the mix, and it can be nearly impossible. So that's really inspired my current line of work. Where I like to work with my clients in terms of understanding where they are right now, what options are available right now, and then identifying and helping guide my clients on the path to where they want to be, to where their goals are.
Wow. That is incredible. I mean, when you think about it, right, the life stresses that are already, it's stressful enough, and then to come and add complexities on top of that, and then have to make solvent decisions. And we actually need somebody to help us work and walk through those things. So go back. What was your Olympic hopeful? You just kind of blew right through that. So kind of tell me the Olympic hopeful stuff. What were you doing? Tell our audience, about what's the sport? We got Olympics coming up right now, or just depending upon when you listen to this YouTube podcast. It just happened in Paris. So what was the sport?
It's the best sport you never heard of. It's the modern pentathlon, actually created by Pierre de
Yeah, the
Coubertin, the guy who
Kubotan.
came up with the idea of the modern Olympics. But it's running, shooting, fencing, swimming, and horseback riding. And it was a lot of fun. When I was a teenager, I had a short attention span. I could focus on something different every day. As I mentioned earlier, I got to see a lot of really cool places in the world, got to meet a lot of really cool people. It was a really, really good sport that honestly I hadn't heard of until I kind of fell into it through fencing, which was a lot of fun.
So understanding modern pentathlon, because I do know modern pentathlon, five sports, right?
Hmm.
And it's like a messenger that's on the battlefield taking a message
I love how
across
you
the
know the story.
battlefield. So you got to know you have to pistol, you got to do a duel, and
Hmm.
then you go from a duel. I think is it the swim next? That swim across like a
So
moat.
the way I visualize it is
Yeah,
I imagine Pierre de Coubertin sitting by a fireplace in a fluffy chair with like a glass of cognac saying, "Wouldn't it be cool if?" And then he
pretty
tells the
cool.
story. It's like, all right, so don't shoot the messenger, right? So the messenger gives bad news. He has to shoot his way out of the room so he survives. And he's out of bullets. So now he whips out his blade and he's supposed to fence his way and fight to freedom. And now there's a moat. So he has to swim across the moat and he finds a horse. It's a random horse. You don't get to bring your own horse. You have to select one at random. So you're riding that until the horse decides it's done running, and then you run the rest of the way to safety. But
It's
yes,
it's
it is.
it's it's great. Um, uh, oh my gosh. She just passed away, Jeannie Fiorello.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And so she was on the board of directors for Modern Pentathlon. And when I was working for the Army's program, World Class Athlete Program, one of my sports was that I was over was Modern Pentathlon. So
Oh,
Jim
cool.
Gregory, Jim
Yes,
Gregory, yeah, Jim
good
Gregory. So
people.
yeah, some great folks. And then so yeah, so we have that in common. So I'm probably gonna just with our conversation begin to the story you just told with the Modern Pentathlon, talk
Hmm.
about that from that standpoint of you're helping these individuals. uh, you've had this experience of knowing how to navigate out of these rooms after you put down your cognac and got to fight your way out. And you and, and you have to, right. And so when you're talking about these navigations, how do you help people? What's your process? What's your thought process as a leader to help people navigate their own pentathlons?
Yeah. I mean, like pentathlon and many things, it's a mental game. And I think I shared with you earlier that part of my job is to help navigate the mental, but really kind of bring the logic side of it too. Um, So what I found a lot of success with when working with my clients is in terms of like really visualize what a best case scenario would looks like paint the picture, step into the future, like how often are you going out to dinner? Are you traveling? What does your house look like? What kind of maintenance is involved? And kind of backing into that. So really like let's talk about what perfect looks like and visualize it and feel how good it feels. All right, let's talk about where we are right now and let's get up close and personal with that scenario. And from there, that kind of helps us kind of put together a path. And the thing is, everything changes over time. So that's, I work with people in a variety of ways, but a lot of regular engagement in terms of like how's everything going, let's go through it, let's talk through it. I shared with you that I sometimes bring Play-Doh to meetings, which I've gotten really positive feedback on. And what it does, it allows people to kind of like play and do something with their hands so they're more comfortable in general just talking through while they're being focused on God knows what with the Play-Doh, which I really like.
I love that. I mean, when you were competing, right,
Hmm.
there was a lot of things that are competing for your attention as you are going through each one of these five stages. Did you have something that was in your vicinity or a ritual that kept you calm or kept your mind either focused on or maybe you will want didn't want to be focused on anything. Athletes, show up in different ways. Was
I
there
was gonna
something that was
say.
special for you that helped you through?
So I guess I will date myself as far as time frame. So I was doing modern pentathlon at the turn of the century, and it's changed a lot since then. So when I did it, I'd wake up early in the morning, and the shoot would be first. You'd calm yourself down, you take the big breaths, and then like you try and like have your heartbeat as slow as possible to do the shooting, right? But for fencing, like you're hyping yourself up, you're getting excited. Like I'm trying to get my adrenaline going there. So I do something differently to get started for that. Swimming, I'd say that was my hardest head game. So anyone who knows me personally knows I sucked at it, but it was fun. Um, horses, fun fact about me, I'm terrified of horses, and it it was a challenge, kind of figuring out the personality because from my perspective, horses are really big. I swear to Pete, they were all really smart. Some of them were mean. Um, and I was trying to figure out how to get them to do what I wanted to do and please be safe. And my thought process is I'd make up for the swim and the horse ride with the run because the run was at the end and they'd stagger your time based on the points you got for the previous events. And with running, like I was just, again, trying to get your adrenaline up and get in that like clear state because I think my issue was sometimes I'd be too hyped up, I'd never be too hyped down, and like just getting there.
Yeah.
In terms of likening that to the divorce, there are different parts. And I'd say a lot of it is mental and emotional regulation because it can be very, very emotional. I work with people on the amicable side, I work with people on more of the animosity. And it's really trying to figure out how to help people in different states. And the, there are a variety of ways you can go through it, but there are two things that I really, really find strongly important. The first is the best piece of advice I've ever been given is find a community that understands you and join it. Um, so think about if you're going through a divorce, find a group of people who get what you're going through, who will listen and respect you and honor your situation without judgment. John, I was sharing with you earlier, I my favorite story is of somebody who was going through a divorce. Their mother made them go to a divorce group, and she was so angry. She was sitting in the church basement with her arms crossed, and she's like, "I don't know why I'm here." Showed up to the next one. God knows why, but she did. And she ended up meeting her new best friend there. And fast forward 20 years later, they had raised their children together, they had gone through ups and downs together, and they're still best friends. But the point of the story is to find people who really get you and understand what you're going through. The second piece of advice in terms of emotional and mental regulation is kind of highlight those unknowns and figure out how to know them. So back to when I was an athlete, like on the horse course, we would literally walk the course and like, all right, here's a jump here, here's a water feature here. Um, I host second Saturday workshops in Colorado Springs. It's a workshop that is free to the local community and it helps people understand the legal, financial, and emotional sides of divorce. I've gotten really good feedback from past attendees saying this information was life changing, it was helpful. Um, Attorneys and mental health professionals locally say they find a lot of gratitude in giving time back to the community so people really understand. They know what they don't know now. Um, so I'd say those two things is find a community that gets you and uncover those unknowns.
Uncovering the unknowns is a lot of where I spend a lot of my time as a professional speaker. And even though we say we're living in uncertain times, and I'll come back and say, well, when have you ever had certainty
Never.
about anything? Never. Uh, the unknowns are there, and if we don't fill that with something, uh, a group, a community, like you're saying, or other experts who are around to fill, we begin to fill those gaps in ourselves with all kinds of stuff that's come into our mind before. Um, who helped you to see this pathway? to see this is a something that you could do. And we might be talking about, to the audience out there, divorce. This really does, it's universal to any type of struggle, challenge, loss that we're all going through or will go through in life. Who helped you understand and see this?
You know, I'm very, very blessed to be in a community of people that are very open professionally. And when I shared what was going on, someone said, "Oh, you should get your CDFA." I was like, "What is that?" Certified Divorce Financial Analyst designation. I looked into it a little bit further, and then if you talk to any CDFA in the country, I found they're like, "I want to talk to you. Let's be friends." And there are a lot. I actually so it was another CDFA that really inspired me to get the designation and learn how to work with people um, that helped that. And then the local legal community was like, "Yeah, we see a need for this." So they were very instrumental in helping me get exposure to more people and sharing. Um, I mean, I also work with a certified divorce real estate expert. Shout out to Keisha Mace. She's awesome. But she's the one that introduced me to Second Saturday and really helped me see that, like, really donating your time and giving this information to the world creates a better scenario for literally everybody, I think.
When you go through this, thank you for saying, and yes, shout out to Keisha Mays. When you go through this, what do you think your superpower is, and to help people shift and navigate this change, and B, how do you help them find their superpower?
So, two things. One, I think my superpower is able to offer a judgment-free space to really reflect back ideas and share a section of expertise that people don't typically have. Um, and then your second question was, how do I help people find their superpower?
Right, to regain it again, because usually
I
they're
was going to
coming,
say
broken,
it's
torn,
regaining. What
regaining.
I've found most is reminding people of their little wins, and that tends to snowball into bigger wins. I really, really enjoy that because people will engage me during divorce. I am in a very fortunate situation where people re-engage me after divorce, so I get to see life past divorce, and it's really cool to see those little wins build up into like I've got a whole new life, and it's awesome. That's actually inspired a book I'm in the process of writing too, where my goal is to interview over 100 people. I'm at 52 right now. I'm really excited.
Oh, that's great.
I know,
Over
and
halfway
it's
there.
I know, right? But the purpose of the book is really to understand what people want financially post-divorce and what might be holding them back. And it's really interesting to see the commonalities that everybody seems to be going through separately. And I'd like to kind of shine a light on you're not alone.
That is so powerful. When you look at those who are, not alone, how important was it for you, using your background as a modern pentathlete, to have team members around you? You talk about community. Can you help us understand that from like a different aspect outside of financial planning back to uh, your athletics, um, that may give us a similar pathway?
Yeah, no, I mean, having my teammates and my coaches be mentors, it was instrumental. I'm still in touch with quite a few, quite frankly, like they're still friends. I married one of them, my husband. He met him through Modern Pentathlon. Um, but it is nice to have that space around you where you can be like, I'm going through this. Like, what did you do when you were going through this? Or have you ever gone through this? And it is really powerful to have a group of people that get what you're going through in a sounding base to really support you and rise up.
This is such a great. I have this process, right? It's called the reckoning moment. Reckoning moment is when we realize we do not get back what we desire to have back after some type of trauma
Yeah.
impacts our life. And then once we kind of hurdle that, we've accepted that, we move into the revision. And the revision is beginning to look at life differently. That I may not make a decision on this, but I can begin to see have different options. For me, it was going, I was no longer going to run hurdles again for Olympic sport. And this whole other world opened up to me called Paralympic sport. And I began to focus in on that. But then we have to make a commitment to that new vision. And that can be tough because there are other people who will believe for us what we can or cannot do, which is often based upon what they believe they could or could not do if they're in our situation. Or we have societal impacts, normalities that we gravitate around that have normalized us. So we're beholden to some of those. But once we have given ourselves that push to commit, now we're in this space of a renewal, which begins, I believe, with the rebirth, hardest part of my model. And rebirth is defined as the new, and new being defined as no prior point reference.
Yeah.
When you're working with these individuals, or even in life, when I say you can't use old systems, old thoughts, old ideas to put into this new bucket to get a different output, how are you managing that and encouraging or inspiring that to your clients?
Well, one, I feel like I have to learn from you, and two, it is really supporting people in their current moment. There are no future, there are no points of reference in their past that they can put towards right now. And I mean, I feel like there's like peaks and valleys, and you really have to like hold that person in front of you in that valley and highlight that there was this peak and there will be another peak, but you're here right now, so let's move towards that. And like, let's talk about this to kind of like, oh yeah, I did do that. And let's talk about, what you're doing forward. What are your ideas? What options are available to you? What do you think? But it really is a lot of conversation and honoring the moment.
Honoring the moment. Yes. Lots of thoughts in my head about that right now, Brianna.
I hope I
Uh,
didn't offend you.
no, I'm like almost at a not a loss for words, but what you're saying, and I think we're in a moment right now. Like if
Hmm.
I date the show, we're on. I'm interviewing on July 12th,
Hmm.
2024.
Yeah,
And we're in a space where a lot of executives, a lot of CEOs are not really, in my opinion, honoring the moment of this huge global crisis that we had called COVID.
yeah,
And we just want to get back to the way things used to be, or we just want people back in the office and we just want people, and we haven't really settled that a lot of loss happened during this time.
it did.
And people are grieving,
Yeah,
and we're trying to push them so quick to get back to a space that is no longer in existence. And that's so I don't want to get on my soapbox because I want to interview you. And so but this is but that's
that's
where you took
fair.
my head. And I just wanted to articulate that to you because that's honoring the moment is priceless, in my opinion,
Yeah,
of where we are. And it's hard to do that.
it is.
So I honor you
Oh, thank you.
for saying that in such a profound way that will, I know, benefit, educate this audience to that are really inspirational leaders to honor, have as a action step to honor the spaces that we are in and give space and grace for ourselves and our employees to grow.
I
So, did I
appreciate you
leave
telling
anything
me.
else out that you wanted to cover
No,
before we
I
close?
really appreciate you taking the time to interview me. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. How do people find you? If you want to plug anything else out, please feel free to do so, and I'll begin to wrap.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way to find me, quite frankly. I do have a website. If you Google me, I will come up. Um, so those are the two easiest ways to find me.
And is it your name? Is a website?
So it is actually raymondjames.com /Brianna Beski, but if you just Google Brianna Beski, it will show up.
Awesome. Fantastic. I want you all to go out there. I thought I'd find you fencing or swimming or riding a horse or not anymore.
My back
That's the
hurts. I'm
family. That
sorry. I'll do fun runs with my kids. That's as exciting as I get these days.
I
My
love it.
husband still fences, but yeah, no, we're chill.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's a wrap for our show today, the Amputate to Amplify podcast, success podcast. And I want to thank my guest, Brianna Beski, for just gracing us with her insights, her poise, her presence, um, and taking us on a transformational journey by helping us amputate fear and amplify our lives. This podcast is going to be live on YouTube. So go over there, check it out, find all of the social media handles and promote it. Select the notification bell and as well as come back for future shows that we have or look at the past shows because they've been absolutely fantastic and incredible guests that of course you are getting a chance to meet and to increase your lives. So thank you for tuning in. Until next time, go forth, inspire your world. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.